Welcome back to another episode of the Manifest Mad Money podcast. Today, I have a very, very special guest who I am just so excited to talk to you. I have my client, Rozana from Rozana Manifest, and she is a manifestation and mindset coach. And I know that y'all are so excited to hear her take on manifestation in business. So, welcome to the podcast, Rozana.
Hi, welcome. Welcome. I'm saying welcome to myself. I'm going to say hi to you.
I love it. Well, it's going to be going on your podcast too. So it is kind of a welcome, right?
Yeah.
But I am so excited to have you here because things have just drastically changed for you over the last few months. You and I have had conversations about this of how it's almost like you are a different person. Like you're just I don't know, you're just showing up in this magnetic way, and I just cannot wait for everyone to hear about all of your teachings.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'm excited.
yeah. Okay, so you joined the content lab. I don't know, was it maybe 7 or 8 months ago?
Yeah,
Um, or maybe even 6 months ago. And yeah, I
yeah,
think that was closer to the time,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 6 or 7.
6 or 7 months ago. Now, when you hired me, you were at 3 to 5K a month consistently. And then you quickly skyrocketed to 10 and 11K cash months. The thing that I love about this for you is not just the fact that you're making more money, but you are also somebody who does things in your own pace, in your own way. Like you're like, off living your life and going. I've seen on your Instagram going and getting Korean corn dogs and like taking time off during the holidays. And you're just really doing this at your own pace in your own way. And I just love seeing that for you.
Yeah, yeah, honestly, it's been such a pleasure working with you because I just love how you know how to meet the person where they're at. And you just know how to like you're an expert first of all in sales and marketing, so and I can tell you love sales just with the way you talk about it, that it makes the conversation alone exciting and doesn't feel daunting to talk about sales. And I loved that you have always like taught me how to like pull out like the things that I already knew to be true about my business, about what I stand for, about what I like, but almost like being able to translate that and putting it out there. And that also involved a bit of like mindset work. So I love like the blend of mindset and strategy. And yeah, I really appreciate it.
I love it. Well, thank you. I feel like I can't shut up about sales and marketing. Like I was literally talking to somebody about that the other day of like, if you put that in front of me, like sometimes Yuri will ask me a question and I'm just like rattling off and he's like, uh-huh, uh-huh. But one of the things that I remember about my conversation with you is when you were signing up, what you said to me just stood out to me. And then you skyrocketed. And I was like, this girl doesn't even know the power that she has. You said to me, Yolanda, what if I'm not going to be able to eat ever again? You're like, what if I pay this to you and I have no more cash coming in, right? Like our brains always go to that place. But I knew that wasn't going to happen with you. I knew that you were a go getter. I knew that you were somebody who's going to implement, and you did immediately. So tell me, I guess, what went through your head when you were like, okay, I'm signing up for this program and I'm going to go after it.
To be honest, it was like, I always made it like I'm never like the person who's like I'm not gonna be able to pay off this thing. It's always like money always shows up anyway, and I'm like, and this is literally my business. It's in my control. If I want to launch something tomorrow that I love, I'll just launch something tomorrow, and we're good to go. So I have that privilege. And also when we were talking, I really felt like you saw me and saw what I really desired and um what I was struggling with, and you sat there with me through the fear without pressuring me or pushing me. I was just able to see through your lens that, okay, so this would be the return on investment, or this is what I would get, or who I would become when I would come out of the other side. And I knew that I was just being dramatic because I'm like, I never had to worry about that. Like
As our
I
brains always do.
Yeah, and it's like I never got to that point, and I've always had income come in my business. I've always had clients, so that's hasn't been the issue. I just wanted to skyrocket to a specific level, and I knew that, I have that goal in mind, and you have the expertise, and you seem to see me and understand where I'm at. So I'm like, these two blended together is gonna like make magic happen. Like my determination and your skill and expertise together, it's like, hello. And I just trusted both of us. I trusted myself to implement and take action every single day and show up that way. And I trusted what I would get out of the program and what I would get out of working with you as well. And I was just like, you know what, let's take a leap of faith. And I want to also trust my intuition, because it's just the fear is what always tells you like you're not gonna be okay, you're gonna lose out. That's always fear. That's never intuition, so to speak. But like there.
Wait. You have to repeat that because I feel like people really need to that was a mic drop moment.
Yeah. So to me, intuition is like this inherent knowing, like this thing that you know, even if there's like the fear present. Fear is just fear. It's not intuition. It's just the ego talking you out of it to protect you in case you fail again. It's kind of like, the 12-year-old you, you're still walking around with the 12-year-old you, and when she made a fool out of herself in school and everyone laughed at her, and now you're like carrying that with you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you say that you trusted yourself because, I've said before, like hiring me is not the magic pill, it's the implementation, right? It's the implementation of the things that you're learning inside of the program. And that's one thing that I saw with you is like you immediately went in there and you were like, I'm getting to work, I'm doing this thing, like I'm on a mission, and you've turned it into your own thing. But I feel like even like I said, like you rebranded, you got new photos, you got new branding done, you got new everything. And it's like there is this new level of Rozana who is just showing up and she is just on a mission.
Yeah, honestly, like the last few months, I invested in myself like more than I've ever invested in all those years in business. I think 4 years now. Wow. Um, it's just like, I get like really fired up. I'm also neurodivergent. So like when I'm like really like zoned in, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. You can't stop me. If I'm focused on this goal, nothing can break that focus. So I was just like really tapped into falling back in love with my business and doing only what I love and speaking about the things that I love and selling it in a way that is fun and that also gives me time freedom, that I was like, it's almost like it cleared out the energy leaks and opened up this space for me to even see what I actually desire and how I want to present myself in my business. And so I was like burning up level, and I just felt that calling and I kept following that calling, and as a result, I got the photo shoot, which was exactly like my Pinterest board. And I'm like, oh my God. And I also got a brand strategist to help me like translate like how I want the brand to look, the luxury and the red, because I know that a lot of people are afraid of using red, but I'm like, I'm gonna use it anyway. Okay. I know it's bold, I know it's scary, but I love the fiery aspect of it. I love the passion that also it represents, and also a bit of like love. And I'm like, this is all me. Let's bring it all out. And with being also in the content lab, I love a lot of the content ideas that we've been like working on together, and how it was like also personalized to me in a lot of ways throughout our conversations. And it's like that mixed with like the new branding, it's almost like me quantum leaping to a different version of myself in business, and just like allowing myself to express that as well is like me breaking through the fear of being seen at the same time. So it was like a blend of different things in just such a short amount of time, because it's like these are things we carry with us like 20 plus years, like these fears and these insecurities and doubts. So for me to break through that quickly is insane to me.
Yeah. What do you think when you think back to joining the program? What do you think was the biggest game changer for you to spark this?
Ooh, biggest game changer. There was a lot. Um, it's gonna sound weird, but it's almost like not taking it personally. Like, when they say it's not personal, it's business. I feel like I definitely, because I made the results always about me, what it means about me, and what happens with my clients when they get results. It's like, yay, I'm doing a great job. And that in itself is like making it about me as well. So of course it shows up as like if I see like a client is going through something, I make it about me as well. So I feel like breaking through that with our conversations and really like knowing like not to make it about me and how to channel the message the way that I want, the right way to the right audience as well, is what allowed me to, one, develop that self-trust even more in myself, and two, also understand like it's okay to let go of imposter syndrome, because I feel like a lot of times it's like we know we should let go of it, but it's like it's not okay to let go of it. It's like that permission slip. And yeah, it's like me getting behind what I'm selling and knowing how to speak to the right people. And I know we also talked a lot about like, how to speak to the ideal client and the empowering way of marketing, and just doing that as well. Like while I'm typing the content, I feel a shift within me. I feel like I'm already talking to those people. And I love content creation. I love content creation and branding more than anything. I have a weird obsession of like, I have to look at people's websites the moment I see their page. I'm like, I just want to see what it looks like. Okay.
I love it. And I know that one of the things that instantly shifted when you did start creating that content is you were celebrating left and right. Yolanda, I haven't talked to this client in so long, and they, signed up for a new package, paid in full. And I feel like your people were starting to come out of the woodworks again. It was like this big activation of your next level.
Yeah. That actually reminds me of a conversation we had. You told me that day you just want me to take the weekend, like make some good food and take like a picture of myself or a video of myself, just like really anchoring in everything that I've built that far, all this time, and just like allowing myself to actually celebrate it. Because I know that especially as business owners and like women who are high achievers, we're like in the go, 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 next level, next level, next level, that we forget that where we are is a place we were manifesting to be at this whole time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And with that being said, now that you're at that level, and we're still building, right? We're still going for more. But now that you're at that level, how does it feel?
Oh my God. Definitely, as there's a lot of like really proud of myself. It's almost like I gave my inner child what she was looking for all along. It's like everything that we've been doing was for you, and here it is. And it also feels like, because it's what I love talking about and I love the way I'm creating content, that it almost feels like I'm playing. It's like I'm like an adult, but also with my kid self at work. Like when you take your kid with you to work. It's
Yeah.
kind of like showing up. It feels fun. It feels exciting. And even if I ever feel like, it's a difficult moment or a difficult day or even a difficult month, I know how to bounce back a lot faster. And I definitely feel a lot more solid with what I'm speaking about. And I just realized actually yesterday that I'm bringing out different sides of me more. It's not just like, oh, I also want to talk to entrepreneurs, because that's been a thing where I'm like, been wanting that for a year and a half, but oh my God, why would anyone want to speak with me? So I had to break through that. But I also noticed like I'm owning as well my culture and who I am and what I follow. And I'm just like, there we go. Let's bring it all out. Because it's not just about what I wear, it's also like allowing myself to express myself the way that I do from my culture. And I'm like, I love it. So I put in one of the pieces of content. I remember you loved that, where I was like, for the love of hummus. And I know you love that one. I'm like, yeah, that's what I would say.
And I think that's why you and I get along so well, is because you have like this personality that is like super sharp, super spicy, but you're also hilarious, and like little things like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, for the love of hummus. Yes.
Oh man. That's so cool. I did tell so I don't remember who I said this to, but I'm like, I can never hire a mentor who's just like always like, like kind of like being just too soft all the time. Like there's a time and place for it, but I like the fiery energy and just like do this, don't do that, and let's work on this, but also like, a strategy in place so that, my mind has a sense of direction as well. So yeah, I definitely I love working with you.
I think we're just two peas in a pod. That's why we just get each other. And, with that being said, you brought up your culture and your background and all of that. And I think that that's an important thing to talk about, right? And the reason I say this is because I have so many people who come to me and they're always like, thank you, Yolanda, for being a person of color, online, showing up, doing your thing, showing us that it's possible. And I feel like you're doing that as well, right? And you are a woman of color, you're Muslim, you live abroad, right? You grew up in a completely different country. And I'm always questioning, why do you have an American accent? But let's talk about that a little bit and talk about how that impacts how you show up and even how your clients receive.
Yeah. Ooh, that's an interesting one because I feel like I've said this once, especially in the manifestation industry and in the coaching industry, a lot of the teachings and the practices have been, let's just say,
Say it. We're unfiltered here. Just say it.
have been whitewashed. Like even yoga and meditation, and it's almost like even the people with big platforms are never women of color. Like it's like the very well-known people in the manifestation industry and in the coaching industry. And I'm like, we want to give voices to everybody, of course. And I've also there was this thing where I'm having like a split thing where I'm like, yeah, I want to show that, but at the same time, oh, what if I get judged? Oh, I want to show that, but maybe I have to fit this specific criteria in order to be accepted. So it was actually like allowing myself to stand out and for me to be okay with like, you know what? If anybody doesn't like it, Godspeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Godspeed. That's part of like the target audience anyway, which is getting out what I don't want and only getting in what I do want, which is respectful, kind people, a safe space for everybody. Um, what was the question?
We were talking about how that impacts how you show up and how it impacts your clients as well.
It definitely impacts my authenticity and me being in integrity with what I stand for and who I am. And I've actually had clients hire me when I owned that part of my culture more online. And I've had clients specifically tell me, like, I love that you wear with a hot scarf, and now that you just show up and don't care what anybody thinks, and it inspires me to do the same in a lot of different things. And it's not just like clients who are women of color, it's also the other clients because they're
Yeah.
like, that just encourages me to stand out and be myself. Like, if you're not afraid of doing that, why would I be afraid of just like posting this story or posting this reel? Um, and definitely like letting go. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this fear of almost being canceled
Mm-hmm.
or the fear of being rejected. So I just like started taking it a lighthearted way. Like I find it so funny when somebody leaves a hate comment. Like I find it hilarious that someone is sitting in their bedroom, never met me, and they're mad. Like someone said something like, how do you sleep at night charging people who are like desperate or insecure? And I'm like, with silk sheets, honestly. Like,
The fiery spiciness. I love it. And I mean, we all have the haters and the trolls. And I think that's one thing that people are always coming to me worried about. And before I started running ads, I've talked about this on the podcast. Before I started running ads, I didn't really get a whole lot of that. I could probably count in the 5 years I've been in business, I could probably count on two hands how many times I've had somebody say something mean. But I just feel like there is power in showing up in who you are and just being unapologetic about it, and you do that so well. So let's kind of segue. Well, actually, I want to segue into more of your work, but I have one question for you before we do that. The person who's listening to this podcast right now, and they're wondering like, man, should I join the content lab? Should I hire Yolanda? I've been thinking about it, but I'm scared. Like, what would you say to them? What advice do you have?
That fear is always going to exist. Circumstances are always going to exist. You're always going to have expenses. When does it end? It doesn't. It's about what is the priority now. So if like 3 months from now you look back, are you going to be proud of how far you've come? Or where are you going to wish that you invested? So it's really about like picking the not even the hard that is the best for you. It's almost like finding a way and having that solution oriented mindset that, okay, so if I were to join this, what can I do so that I can continue investing in the other areas? Or is there a payment plan? I feel like most people just like close off and have this like avoidant behavior the moment they see the price rather than like giving room to discussing different payment options, for example. So I would say, first of all, hello, like what more successes do you need to hear than what you heard here and on the entire podcast? It's definitely worth it. And I'm someone who's also invested in a lot of business programs. A lot of them have been great, but this was the one that actually helped me scale 5 figures. So
Oh my gosh,
let's just be real for a moment.
Rozana. Oh my gosh, that like I'm gonna have to take that clip and just like make that into like a testimonial. That's just, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you.
Of course, you're welcome.
And
Yeah,
it
it's like, yeah, fears and circumstances are always going to be there. It's like you have to take the lead and then the rest will show up. But I think most people, what they do is like they wait for things to work themselves out and then maybe we'll give it a try. It's like if you want to be a leader in your field and an entrepreneur, then you have to start showing up in every area as a leader, you know?
oof, mic drop. Bam. That so good. So good. You know, we can't be a leader if we're still coming from fear and still operating from fear. But like you said, the fear is going to be there. It's not going to go away, but it's we don't want to operate from that space.
Yeah.
Very different. Okay, let's get on to the exciting stuff because obviously we know that this is the Manifest Mad Money podcast, but it has been a while since I've talked about manifestation, but it really goes hand in hand with everything that we create in life and business. And one of the things that I love about you is you are so real in your approach to this because you and I have had conversations of like, people think manifestation is this ritual that they're going to do and they're going to drink this water or they're going to write this thing 55 times 5 days in a row and they think that's what it is, but it's so much bigger than that. So why don't you express in your own words how you view manifestation and how you approach that?
Right. So I mostly follow the law of assumption. I mean, law of assumption and law of attraction are pretty much the same, but the law of assumption, the community in itself doesn't put limits on what you can have. And it's more so like just persist until it hardens into fact. Even if you don't believe it, keep persisting. So that's the approach that I like because I'm like, I don't want to be dependent on motivation or a feeling. I want to be dependent on discipline and me just like deciding every single day that power position. So that's my approach to it. And manifestation to me is like who you're being is what gets pushed out, is what gets reflected in the 3D world, three-dimensional reality. So it's it boils down really to who you're being, and who you're being also shows up in is like the symptoms of who you're being shows up in your habits every single day. The thoughts that you have, the feelings that you have, the types of conversations you have or don't have or avoid, the action that you take. And I understand that there are situations where people are like, oh, I can't take action in that area yet. But even changing your habits and your thoughts is a form of action. So doing your part until you get there is the action piece. So it's not that you have to always like find an action to do if there's nothing to do. It's like just like there's like a specific circumstance where you can't physically do anything about right now. But a lot of times, the circumstance that we have, we can do something about. Let's just be real, especially in business. And
Yes.
when we're not allowing ourselves to sell online because we're afraid of being salesy, for example, that is confirming to your subconscious that you're still old self. You're still the version of you who is afraid of showing up, who is afraid of being judged, who believes that if she continues to sell, that she will lose her audience. And that alone is we can go into abandonment wound and all of that stuff. So my perspective on manifestation is just who you have to become in order to receive that. And that takes aligning the mind and the body. Because sometimes what tends to happen is like people get their mindset, like the affirmations, but their body is still processing the thing that happened in the past and they're so closely attached to the past. And to me, it's not about even healing the past. It happened. It's more so disconnecting the identity from the past. And some people, what they do is a lot of nervous system work, but it's like the story that you're telling is still a crappy one. You still believe that the business is hard, that getting clients is not easy, that you have to try so hard to be seen, and that no matter what you do, it's not good enough. And, the not good enoughness identity. So, I mean, I rambled a lot and answered beyond the question, but
No, I love it. Because I'm like sitting here nodding to all of this. I'm like, yes, it's so true. And, even with the action piece that you were talking about, people always say to me, or when I talked about manifestation a lot, people would always say to me, but I can't put myself in the position of having that thing because I can't afford that thing. And I'm like, nobody said you had to afford, like the car of your dreams in order for you to believe that it's possible. You put yourself in a situation of go test drive it, go walk around the car lot and pretend like you're going to pick that out, right? Like it is work in the sense of you're trying to retrain your brain of this is possible for me. But we as humans, we always want to look at the evidence first. But I always go back to it's be, do, have, right? And so it's like you have to be before you have. You have to be that person. You have to show up as that person. That's the do. And then you have. It's not have first and then believe. And I think so many people get that backwards.
yes, yes, it's the I'll believe it when I see it, and I'm like, well, why are you trying to manifest then if that's the approach you want to go?
Yeah,
Go back to the
exactly.
old way.
And one thing that, you and I recently talked about that you kind of just touched on just now is that there are so many times where people are um they are reprogramming their subconscious, which is their mind, right? They're getting their mind on track. And then they forget that your body is used to showing up in that particular way. So you have to get the body on track. It's like, when I tell people, you don't have to think about how to hold your toothbrush when you wake up in the morning. You just know this is how I hold my toothbrush and I know how to brush my teeth. But when we're trying to reprogram how you're approaching things, the mind and the body need to meet. So tell us more about that and what you suggest as far as getting that on track.
Yeah. So I definitely do suggest nervous system regulation and following that with alignment. So if you just regulated, let's say, anxiety about making a payment, and now that you have regulated yourself, you can't just stay in the same state of like, yeah, I'm somebody who gets worries about like in making investments. So now that you regulated yourself, you got to a neutral space. It's about now practice the opposite of what you felt in your body and allow yourself to immerse in who you are when you are so confident about every investment you make, when you know that every investment you make comes back within a week. If you knew, I literally tell my clients this, if you have like a video that shows you your life a week from today and that you would have what you want, how would you show up today? What story would you be telling about money? How would you pay your bills? How would you be drinking your coffee? How would you walk? How would you breathe? That's the embodiment piece. That's allowing yourself to be in the body more than in the mind. And then when it comes to the mind, it's about, especially when it comes to business, it's bringing in that solution oriented mindset versus, oh my God, this thing's falling apart. Now, what do I do? And then I'm going to affirm. It's like you still reacted, you still allowed yourself to be old self, and then you tried to affirm in a way. It's more so, how does the new you even respond to circumstances that are in opposition of what they want? How does that new self deal with complaints, deal with hate? How does she feel about herself and what does she make it mean about herself? So it all goes back to like the self concept. So it's like the story about the business in itself or the desire, and who you are when you have that is what unfolds. It's like when you focus on who you are, when you have what you want, that's when you quantum leap. and bringing in the story in place. It's like you're connected. Like, now you just tied all loose ends. There's no piece that you left behind. But I think that also the issue that a lot of people have in the community is like they almost use manifestation as a shield to hide behind things. It's like, they stroke themselves in their bedroom and healing their inner child, but then they go out and now they have their wall up again and pretending to be like a strong and independent person. You're strong and independent. We get it. It's more so now it's about leading with an open heart. It's not just in your bedroom when you're hiding, just stroking your inner child. It's like going out with that transformation, walking through life with that transformation. When you're talking to somebody and you don't get a text back right away, when you are calling your partner and he's like, "Oh, I'm busy, I'm going to call you later." How would you not make it mean something negative about you, that you're unwanted? That's where, you either move towards your manifestation or back to old self.
And it's so interesting because, I know that you and I have had these conversations. It's so interesting how we revert back to those childhood behaviors, of course, because, when we're younger, we are picking up our belief about ourselves through our transactions with the world, right? Like not just our parents, that is a big part of it. It is our parents, but also every exchange that we're having with people in the world, period, from school, from friends, from teachers, doctors, all of those things. We are picking up a belief about ourselves in some way or, form.
Yeah. Yeah, we do hear a lot. And it is true that ages 0 to 7 is like when you almost like soak in everything that you're hearing. And I also believe that it's not just like what you hear. Your subconscious is not just based on hearing, it's all of your five senses. So everything you were seeing, everything you were tasting, everything you were touching. So all of that is within your subconscious and you soak that in. Plus, the people who raised you can take on some of their behaviors. Like a lot of times when you see people when they like have a difficult business month, the way they speak to themselves is the same way that their caretaker or their parents spoke to them when they quote unquote failed, when they didn't meet a specific expectation. So we carry on those habits as well of our caretakers, or even when we see them like overspend and throw their money away and then get angry if it doesn't come through. And along with like all the worthiness stuff that we take on, like being told like you have to earn your worth, like when you're successful, that's when you get to feel worthy. And that's showing up with a lot of entrepreneurs. What that does, it's like, you're taking on the worthiness story, the habits of your family, the environment that you were in is the environment that's within you now. So your expectation is constantly like, you're going to lose all the money that you make. So what's the point of making it if you're going to go back to it? That's like the fear at play within. So it's just so interesting how it always goes back to like your childhood. And I know that some people get triggered by that. I'm not saying like keep healing forever. It's more so being able to look back, not feel that same attachment anymore, and know that this was then. You now, you're deciding where you go next. But most people are so closely identifying with their past self, and that's why they're not able to stay in the new story because they're so hung up on that specific situation, seeing maybe their parents pick up multiple jobs. So now you believe you have to have like 1,000 offers at the same time, and you also have to get a 9 to 5, and you also think that you have to work hard all the time to make money. And what that does is like you keep manifesting situations where now you have to work hard again to make money again.
Mm. Years ago, I had a conversation with someone about that because I wound up asking her like why does everything come with so much pride of how you struggled through it? Like everything that we talked about, she was like, "Oh, but I overcame this." And I was like, "Why does everything have to have that struggle piece to it?" And it's so interesting that you brought up the healing piece because that's one of the things that I love about how your approach is like I'm very much the person where we're never going to be healed, right? Like we're never going to be 100% healed. Yes, we can work on those things and yes, we can create, a different belief system, but I don't feel like those things ever truly fully go away. And so it's not about spending your whole life healing from your childhood and going through all these wounds over and over. It's more of a realization of, oh, that's where that's coming from so that you can then pivot, because I've seen some of your content where you're talking about the reason you're not manifesting is because you're stuck in this healing cycle, right? Like it's just this nonstop healing, and that's not the thing that's going to get you to that next level.
Yeah. There's such an addiction to healing, and it's almost like, like movies that people love the most. And I was just telling a client yesterday, she was talking about love manifestation. I'm like, the movies that people love the most, like The Notebook and all that, we love it. But it's like people love it because there was so much fighting and trying, and the hero's arc. I'm like, it's not cute anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
love them together, okay, but this whole you have to fight your way to get there is almost the thing that's keeping people in a space of like finding something new to heal. What else do I need to work on? Is there a deeper limiting belief? Your subconscious is not playing trick or treat, and it's like, ha ha ha, let me hide this belief from her. It's like everything you're feeling right now is data coming from your subconscious. Everything you're doing right now, the ways you're approaching your manifestation is enough data for you to work through. It's almost like there's also like almost like glorifying and romanticizing pain, and we put music to it when we're crying. Embrace it, don't romanticize it. That's the difference.
Oh, yeah. It's so funny because I remember being in high school and having like a tough day at school or whatever, and I would come home and put sad music on.
I did that.
I don't do that anymore. So I'm glad to hear that I'm no longer romanticizing my pain.
Or you play sad music and just like imagine fake scenarios of like terrible things happening to
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's so crazy. Like when we're younger, I feel like yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes we do it too as an adult, but yeah.
you.
Okay, so I'm loving this conversation, but obviously we cannot be here for hours and hours and hours. So, if there was one thing that you wanted to leave the audience with, now we know that we have an audience of entrepreneurs who are in it. They are, like Brene Brown says, like in the arena, they're doing the things. What is one piece of advice that you would leave for them that you're like, you just, this is all you need?
That no one is going to save you but you. Not with your strategy, not with your mindset. It's only you who can save you. And you're with all the love in the world, you're the only person who cares about your manifestation.
Mm.
As much as people will support you, hold the space for you, and guide you, you're the only one who cares about your business. You're the only one who cares truly about your manifestation. And you're the one who is living through it. So it's your responsibility now to move through what you're moving through and get yourself there. Not what happened then. Whoever did what they did in the past, that's on them then. Now you're the one who's responsible for your results. You're in your body, your reality, your business. Lead if you want to actually be the authority and position yourself as the authority. It's an energy thing that also people buy. It's not just the strategy. It's the strategy plus the energy.
Love it. Yes, it is. Okay, so before we end, please, and we will have, of course, all of this in the show notes, but please let people know how they can find you, how they can work with you, how they can connect with you.
So my main platform is Instagram, Rozana.manifests_LLC. I'm on TikTok as well, my main platform is Instagram. You can reach me there, and all of the links are also in my bio, and you can reach out to me to talk about all the ways we can work together.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story.
Thank you.